Alright, so this Tuesday, Ny'alotha was released, and with it, we got to see how the expansion concludes, and how we dealt with N'alotha in not one, but two fancy cinematics. Now I have thoughts. I have thoughts about both of these cinematics, so I'm going to talk about each one here today. Spoilers for 8.3, Ny'alotha, etc., etc. If you do not want spoilers for the raid, what happens, all that, don't watch this video. That should be pretty obvious. But if you do want spoilers, if you want my reactions to them, well, post-reactions, they're not really reactions, then hey, don't go anywhere. Also, if you'd like to watch these cinematics yourself without having to do the raid, I'll have them linked down below. Thank you, Wowhead, for making my job a whole lot easier today. Anyways, the raid, the cinematics, Ny'alotha. Let's start with the first that comes just before you fight the second to last boss, the Carapace of N'alotha, I believe. In this cinematic, it shows Wrathion, our Wrathion, not the one dreamed up by N'alotha, who is the first boss in the raid, wielding the blade of the Black Empire. For those who don't know, are unaware, or have forgotten, that's xal'atath. And xal'atath is actually no longer in the weapon. She was released back in 8.1.5 during the Crucible of Storms intro questline. A little bit of context. When the Naga began assaulting Kulturos and Zandalar, we turned to xal'atath for answers on why. In reality, we never really got an answer, a clear, definitive answer, and instead, xal'atath used us and the things we collected for her to essentially bargain with N'alotha for her own freedom.
Hear me, God of the Deep. I have brought you the Opener, the bringer of truths, the torch that lights the way. Honor our bargain. Free me to find my own fate.
Go, but the blade must remain to serve my will.
A fair exchange. Shadows guide you, my dear friend.
As it went, she was freed. We got the gift of N'alotha, the little, crazy headband thing, and the blade remained in the Crucible until a horde adventurer, may whoever it was be smited down for their actions, that took up the blade and offered it to Sylvanas. From there, that very action kickstarted our quest into Nazjatar and the subsequent release of N'alotha, which in return brought us to 8.3 and all that stuff. More recently, however, in the Ny'alotha raid, we learned that the blade was passed from the war chief to Azshara. For what reason, we don't know, who then planned to use it to defeat and imprison N'alotha. And it makes you wonder, since xal'atath was located in Stormsong when we found her, does that mean the entire reason the Naga invaded the zone, invaded Kulturos and Zandalar, and every other surrounding island, were they trying to find her? So that said, we see Wrathion fulfilling Azshara's wish. Now, let me just be clear, he isn't working for Azshara. You can get that thought out of your head. It is only that we encounter her, revived and taken prisoner after the battle in the Eternal Palace in Ny'alotha, where she explains that using xal'atath is the only way to actually defeat N'alotha. What this tells me is that, like I said in my video on the Forge of Origination, that the Forge of Origination did not work. I haven't done the raid yet myself. It is Tuesday when I am recording this audio, though I'm sure that's addressed somewhere. But with that said, we move on to the second cinematic, the finale of the expansion, the end to the Battle of Azeroth. Now this one is a mix. We see one of the usual in-game cutscenes with our character, and it is mixed with a polished cinematic that we're used to. The cinematic shows us firing the Forge of Origination using the 4 anchors we've set up in the raid, and using the Heart of Azeroth as an anchor that, in what I believe, amplifies the power of the Forge to destroy N'alotha, or at the very least, his persona within Ny'alotha. And that's it. That is the end of N'alotha and the Ny'alotha raid. I can say, for the amount of time waited, it was a very anticlimactic cinematic, especially compared to the other cinematics done throughout this expansion and the last few. It was not that great. But even then, I have thoughts. I have thoughts. A lot of people have thoughts. What happened to the Heart of Azeroth? Is it gone? Destabilized like our weapons in Legion? Is Ny'alotha dead now? We did use the Forge to destroy him, but as proven with Y'Shaarj, killing an old god is not a task that's as simple as just firing a giant laser. And what about xal'atath? Did the blade possibly imprison a segment of Ny'alotha, or did it just weaken him? Is it gone because Ny'alotha is now gone? There are so many questions left unanswered, and because of that, I'm convinced there's something more to it. Now, I've seen it stated that because of the difficulty, Mythic might get something more, something that alludes to things related to all the questions above. If that's the case, I'll be sure to make another video and talk about it further. But even so, I don't think that's it for this expansion. There are many questions that still need answers, and I don't think it'll happen in just one extra bit of cinematic that might add an extra 30 seconds or something like that. There's still the question of the peace treaty between the Alliance and the Horde. There's still the matter of a war chief for the Horde. There's still Sylvanas running around, the people hunting Sylvanas, and just because there won't be a 8.3.5 as confirmed by Blizzard, that doesn't mean we won't be seeing something to officially wrap up the Blood War in a nice little bow. Who knows? We might get something in the coming weeks as a surprise, like we did with the Reckoning cinematic, or we might get something closer to the release of Shadowlands. But as for now, that's it for the Old God part of the expansion. I'm kind of disappointed by it. I wish we got more. Maybe we will. We'll just have to see next week. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this video, WoW, or its lore, you can leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read each and every one of them. Thanks for watching.